Hey, fight fans, welcome back to another episode of Stand and Bang. I'm your host, Aaron Robbins, and with me, as always, is the hype train rider, Fred Kirby. Fred, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic tonight, bro. How are you doing?
Not too bad. We had an awesome event last night, and we have an awesome fighter with us to discuss some of that and what's going on with him right now, Elias Theodorou. Elias, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
No problem. We've been looking forward to having you on the show for quite a while. You're a hard man to pin down, busy guy. So, 187. We'll touch on it a little bit later if we have time, but what did you think about the event overall, Elias?
The event overall was great. I think it lived up to much of the hype building up to it, even with the shuffle of John Jones. I think getting into the main event and talking about it quickly, I think it lived up to its hype.
Yeah, I agree. I was thoroughly entertained. Fred, what did you think?
Yeah, man. I think this was probably one of the best cards top to bottom in a long time for the UFC. The whole card was stellar. And like Elias said, even with John Jones, the main star, getting yanked at pretty much the last minute, it still ended up being a great fight and a great night of fights overall. Well,
for me, John Jones getting yanked was a disappointment, but I got to tell you what, when Cerrone put that stank on John McDessie's face, that sealed the deal for me. 187 was classic. Elias, real quick, what was your favorite moment of last night before we move on?
I wouldn't say there was a specific favorite moment, but it was good to see Weidman kind of silence the doubters and the haters and whatever. The poor guy, he's probably like one of the most underestimated fighters because, again, he's filling in that shadow, or always had that shadow of Anderson Silva.
Ooh, I don't know about that after last night. I am definitely, I'm joining the team. He said, join the team. I love you all. Well, yeah, I'm joining the team. I believe that he's going to stay there for a while. So without further ado, why don't we ask you some questions here? It is no secret at all on social media that immediately after starching Dan Kelly, Sam Alvey, for whatever reason that goes through Sam Alvey's mind, he picked you. He called you out, and then it looks like that there has been a little bit of a Twitter thing going on. It seems like you guys are both good-humored. First off, what was your reaction when you were watching the event and you heard your name pop out of Sam Alvey's mouth?
It was fun, and it just goes to show that I'm on, even though I've only been in the UFC for a year, I'm still on somewhat of a radar. And let's just be clear, he's getting any type of notoriety because it's my name, not the other way around. This is a calculated decision, and I think in many ways, Sam and his wife are a team, and they're doing a great job in marketing. So kudos to them on that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, now you instantly were a good sport about it. You and Sam have been going back and forth. Now I know that you're a real calm guy, real cool guy. You don't let emotions get into it. But what is the temperature of the Twitter beef per se? Are you guys just having fun with each other? Are you going to try to hype this up a little bit to see if you can sell some fights if this fight materializes?
Honestly, I'm just having fun with it, to be completely honest. No color barometer. I wouldn't say I'm an orange or a red, but he's definitely a redhead.
Yes, he is.
Basically, just, I don't know, having fun with it, and I'm in no rush to fight at this point. If he's willing to wait, I'm willing to do what I always do, win.
Okay. Yeah, that is one thing that I have to take my hat off to you. You do have one of the funnier Twitter feeds that I check out during fights, and I know you mess with Adam Hunter over at MMA Roasted and drop him some jokes sometimes and stuff like that. So good on you there. Very good with the humor. So you said that your desire is there to take on Sam Alvey if he's willing to go by your time frame. Now I've heard you say this quite a few times. You're a young guy. You're 26. Median age in your division is what, 31? So you believe a nice, slow, and steady pace is best for your fight career?
Specifically at this moment. Remember, I'm not only backtracking even. I'll throw out a phrase that I love to throw out anyways. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Like you said, and like I've said, I'm 26 years old, but more importantly, I'm always going to be playing catch up. I've only been training martial arts in any faction for 6 years, and 4 of those have been professional. So I'm playing catch up. And the next 6 months, I probably won't get a time to basically, honestly, grow as a martial artist ever again. I'm not preparing for the next fighter because I think I could beat Sam Alvey with ease. to be completely honest. He's a one-dimensional fighter in many regards. Every time he's won, it's either because he's fought people that are less skillful than he is, or played into his skill. And it's chess, not checkers. He has a blueprint for 5 different times, and 5 different people have beaten him. But I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about once I beat someone who's on a 3-fight winning streak with three KOs, then I won't be able to pace myself in my my competition. I would have no choice but to fight a top 15 guy. And am I ready for that? Maybe. But am I ready to be a champion yet? No. And I'm being realistic in my goals. I want to be just a little bit better. I want to be a little bit better every single time, and that's what I'm going to do for the next 4 months.
Wow, Fred, have we ever heard such an honest or intelligent answer?
I don't think so. That was pretty well thought out.
Yeah, did you prep for us as much as we prepped for you? Because that was bravo, buddy. That was pretty impressive right there. That's quote worthy.
Honestly, like again, in many ways, I think there's a little bit of politicking and, to be completely frank, pussyfooting in many regards to just the fight game. And honestly, I'm just going to be as honest as possible. And I said honest 3 times there now, so that's to be true.
All right, so no pussyfooting around for Elias Theodorou. He'll tell you the truth. That's awesome. We appreciate that. Being truthful, you have admitted you're a bit of a man-child. You're a bit of a clown. But I will tell you this, and I want to know where it comes from. You have a willingness to throw down. There's a lot of guys who clown a little bit, but that's kind of how they defend themselves from not really getting into a nasty scrap. It seems like you've got absolutely no problem throwing down, taking some damage to give some damage. Have you always been that way? Is that just something that's in your nature?
I think in many ways it's just who I am. I'm just being myself. And sometimes I'll be a very silly person, and with that in mind, I'm very focused and I'm very determined to win. That's what it all comes down to, game day. And my coaches will be the first to tell you that my scatterhead and man-childness kind of slowly deteriorates as I get into fight mode, and I'm focused and have about 15 minutes of attention span until my ADD kicks in again.
Okay, so it's safe to say that if somebody had something fun and shiny in the cage, you might get in trouble?
Yes. Shiny lights, loud noises. It's all very confusing.
All right. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Fred, because we are going to talk about some of the hats that you wear. You are a very diverse guy, and I know Fred is interested in that. And go ahead, Fred. I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit here, Elias. So, I think it might be common knowledge to some, but maybe some people don't know this, but you actually have starred on the cover of a couple romance novels?
10 to be, in fact. Which is a very powerful number. It's the basis of the decimal system. Yes.
Exactly. 10. Exactly. So, I got to know. He knew exactly how many number he had been on, Jack. How did you get into that? Like, did somebody like contact you one day? Like, how does one become the Canadian Fabio?
Exactly. 2.0, I would argue. I have better hair. But, with that being said, I have an agent, and, it was basically to supplement my income going into the UFC. In the regionals, money is not what you're fighting for. You're fighting for the potential of money and, honestly, the destination, being on the biggest venue that you can, UFC. So that was just one of my ways to make some money, and they paid me handsomely to be handsome on a couple of romance novels. My unofficial title, I guess, would be as a fighter is like your mom's favorite book cover, your son's favorite fighter. I think that's my unofficial tagline.
Yeah, that should piss a few people off.
I was going to say, this guy is all sorts of quote worthy. But I guess, bringing up the old, what's the Ben Stiller movie where he's ridiculously good looking? I know that you tease about that there.
Zoolander.
It does seem kind of like, if Zoolander threw down, that's exactly what we have here. We've got Fabio 2.0. And does it ever make you feel just a little bit strange how many women are holding the book with only one hand when you're on the cover?
That is why I do not let my mother read those books at all. She's a lady. But what people do reading my books is all up to them. Some of them are not as smut worthy. There's one, I think it's called Battle Galactica, where I am a space cowboy from Mars. So hot.
You know what?
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I was just about to ask you, have you cracked the novels?
It was the number one Sorry to interrupt. It was a #1 bestseller. Just to throw it out there.
Hey, yo, that's important.
Yeah, man.
It's a #1 bestseller. That is an important detail. Do you ever get any shit from any guys at the gym, though? Or they ever like, yo, here he is, the guy on the romance cover?
Yeah, that jerk. No, everyone I train with is, sure, they'll pick on me a little, and it's all good fun. And I'm not easily hurt. I have a little bit of armor, so it's all good fun.
That's one thing I was going to ask, but you already kind of went there. So on all the 10 novels, the basis of the decimal system, did you look in all 10 to see what kind of erotica you were involved in?
My favorite one, I can't remember the exact title, but basically I'm a pirate, and I steal like a princess, and I show her like the 7 seas or whatever like that, and the king is like trying to chase me down the whole time. So,
Whoa.
Yeah.
These sound wicked badass, man. A pirate from Mars. These are awesome.
You know what? I have many options, many hats.
Yeah, I guess so. You can be a cowboy, you could be a pirate, pretty much anything, I guess, that lonely women fantasize about. All right, Fred, I'm done stepping on your toes. Go ahead. I know you got some more shit.
Yeah. So other than the romance novels, though, I think you had told Aaron that later on you got a stuntman class that you're going to be taking or something.
Yeah, that's another thing I dabble in. Again, there's 2 different venues in acting. It's obviously the straight principal role and also stunt. And it's funny because I've actually lost a couple roles because I was too technical when I threw a punch. So I'm just gonna kind of learn how to be an actor when I punch too, because just because I'm a professional fighter doesn't mean that's exactly what they're looking for.
No. So you know how to fight too well to act? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I was going to say.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what basically they were telling me.
That's ridiculous. That's like being too thin or too good looking, right? You got a director that was like, sorry, Elias, that looked way too real.
Yeah, the struggle's real.
Well, so wait a minute though. How does your UFC contract work? Are you allowed to do shit like this? Like a stuntman, that sounds low key kind of dangerous.
Again, it's all relative. It's all in the contents of what the part is. I'm not going to be jumping off a building to jump into I don't know, a car finally placed or whatever. I'm doing stunt and just learn how to properly fall. I'll learn how to properly throw punches. And again, it fits into the idea of acting as well, because again, you get paid twice when you're an actor and you're doing your own stunts.
Ah, okay. So it's not like it's necessarily, like you said, jumping out of burning buildings and shit. You could just be doing it on a lot smaller of a level.
Yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I'm up for anything. For me, everything's about the journey and trying something new. And it'd be cool if I could say I've been caught on fire a few times and got attacked by a couple, I don't know, lassies. They're doing that, aren't they? I don't know.
So is that like you said you were not going to fight for another 4 months? Is it because you got like kind of other pots on the fire? Do you plan on making acting and shit like this? Is this a major goal of yours after fighting, or?
Not necessarily after fighting. It could be during and in between. Ronda Rousey has shown the ability to juggle it, and I have a couple projects in the near future, and I'm in talks right now to actually have my own amateur series as well. So I'm going to be having, basically I'm going to be the Dana White of my own league. Nothing's official yet, but that's kind of where I'm going at.
Ah, that's very interesting. I'm sure you've got a little bit of curiosity in that, don't you, Aaron?
Yeah, I really do.
Canadian MMA?
Exactly. Well, I'm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'm pretty damn close to Canada. Can you expand on that a little bit for the fans? How did that come about, your own amateur league?
Well, again, nothing's set and nothing's official, but that's just something I want to do. I love the idea of basically I'm going to in many ways incorporate the idea of what happened with The Ultimate Fighter into the ability for people to get their eventual pro debut. Again, nothing's official, but there's going to be some cool things on the horizon by the end of the summer.
All right. Well, hopefully you will come back and give us specifics on that, because now you've definitely piqued my curiosity. Fred, I know that you have one more thing for Mr. Theodorou about his fun in the sun with the Nogueiras. You want to get at it?
Yeah. Before you fought Narvaez in Texas, I had heard that you had went down and trained with the Nogueira brothers in Brazil. How was that?
It was amazing. This was actually my second time going down to Brazil and training with them, and this time it was more of a coming full circle, because the time before that I was 4-0, and this is when Team Nogueira, the pro team, was just coming into effect, and there was probably like 200 fighters, and then the second time I come around, they've whittled it down to more about 50 and the more serious fighters, and it was just cool to come back full circle again and just basically train with them. And the best way to explain it, and the most amazing way to explain it, is the fact every time I walked in that gym, there was all their trophies, including the 2003, 2001 Pride champion, and it would just give me a little bit of chill, like in all the right ways, and
motivation.
And the fact that they're very much prize fighters in comparison to me as a martial artist. Don't get me wrong, they put their time, and there always will be martial artists, but in many ways they're fighting for a paycheck. But it was really interesting to see, and amazing to see that my excitement in my career and my fight got them excited to be martial artists and to train. And they're world renowned for their basically loafing. They're always late, but once they eventually showed up, they were so excited to be there.
That's a pretty amazing experience. How long was you down there for?
Better part of a month and a half.
Wow. Now, I gotta be honest, man. I have an affinity for brown-skinned women and big booties, so it would be hard for me to stay motivated down in Brazil. You're a good-looking guy. You got the beach down there, acai. Was it hard to get up every day and go train? I mean, it's the opportunity of a lifetime, but you're like in heaven, basically.
Well, I was very focused with my fight, and I'm very happy with my lovely girlfriend. So, I definitely splurged on the acai, I'll tell you that much.
That'll do the trick. A little girlfriend will keep you in line every time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Was she able to travel with you?
Not this time, but there's, like, for instance, she's come to all my fights that we've been together, and that's something that we've talked about. Originally, we were going to go, but she was going to come, but it didn't work out in timing, blah, 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 and she is going to come to some of the more training events that I plan on going on.
Okay, now I've been building up to this, and I can't help myself. Does she tease you about being ridiculously good-looking and being on romance novel covers? Because, come on, she has to give you a little shit, right?
No, she'll be the first when someone says something to me, complimentary. She'll be the first to say, hey, there's no feeding of the ego when I'm here. And then she'll make fun of me for having a very large head, and then tell everyone that my head's already large enough, so let's keep it on the down low.
Now, does that mean she thinks your ego's getting out of control, or do you actually physically have a large dome piece?
No, I physically have a very large head, and yeah, it's very. I don't want to talk about it. I can't even wear hats. It's a very sad.
Is that why you grow out the hair, to kind of have some hair deception on the gigantic melon? Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly it.
So we're never going to see you with a shaved head.
No.
No.
God, no.
No, just straight up no. All right, now I do have to hit you with a couple of the serious questions that I prefaced before, just because, hey, we talked about Brazil. There's a different vibe down there. I know that you're very focused, or you said that you were very focused, but there's different cuisine, there's different food, different everything. There's a lot of acclimation down there. Now, in your fight with Narvaez, I noticed that you seem to be a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. Do you attribute some of that to being down in Brazil, or did you struggle with the weight cut this time around?
Yes and no. What you guys see is a 218-pound Elias Theodor. So that means in the course of 24 hours, I was over 30 pounds from weigh-ins. My coach hates it when I say this, but it was actually the easiest cut I've ever had. Unfortunately, we kind of just pushed the limits to see how big I could get, to the limits. Like, even like the idea of Icarus flying too close to the sun, I think we kind of tried to see how big I could get, and then at a certain point, it's useless. Like, me at 210 and 218, there's not really much of a difference, just you can see my abs. So, yeah, basically, you're not the first person that noticed that. It's just a learning lesson. My coach and I, we've been kind of doing this, honestly, just winging it in many regards, because he and I have brought each other to the highest points in each of our careers, and we're just kind of just learning. And I guess with this fight specifically, being 218 pounds was not necessary. I'm just as strong at 210 pounds in the cage, and frankly, I will probably look a lot better. It didn't affect any of my actual performance. I felt great. It was probably the best I've ever felt in a cage. And again, I guess the Elias Theodor shorts didn't compliment me as well, with a little bit of hanging over. But honestly, I did what I needed to do. I kicked ass, and I'm still undefeated. Going forward, it's a learning lesson, and don't worry, you'll see abs next time.
All right.
Just for you.
Well, that's not my main concern. Maybe some women out there were a little bit disappointed. I do appreciate your honesty. Now, with the jump from 210 to 218, let's talk body composition. You and your coach decided to put a little bit of extra Elias on your frame. What was the body composition? Was that from weightlifting? Was that muscle? Or was that just subcutaneous tissue you were just trying to ride a little bit heavier?
Well, only in the last 8 months to a year have I actually been doing strength and conditioning, and it's added roughly 15 pounds of pure muscle. And I'm a much bigger person than I was in the regional shows, just because of the ability to actually learn how to lift heavy things. And I obviously have a great strength and conditioning coach, Steve from Bang Fitness, who has honestly just built me into the monster that I am today. With that being said, my opponent, Narvaez, he's a big guy. He's got, I think, like an 80-inch reach, and he's tall, and he has a big frame himself. So we were kind of concerned about the idea of him having a little bit more size, and we got a little crazy with it. So, I think I don't know the technical terms of what might have just happened, and to be completely honest, a little bit of what you guys saw in the size is actually my intestines going from shrinking to expanding at a quick rate, and which isn't the greatest thing for your intestines, kidneys, and all that jazz. And it's just a learning lesson. We, like Icarus, we've flown a little bit too close to the sun, but unlike Icarus, we landed safely. Very good.
That's what I'm going to start telling people, Kirby. I'm not chubby. My intestines just expanded very quickly from the other day.
Best thing I've ever heard. That's best excuse ever.
Now, for Elias, it's true. For me, it's absolute bullshit. But, all right, going on to that, I did want to say good on you for handling Narvaez, who is gigantic. Honestly, I did predict that you would handle him pretty easily. Now, the broken arm, I do want to talk about that for a minute before maybe we can finish up with just a couple of UFC 187 moments. Were you aware that his arm broke when it happened, or was it until he started guarding that arm?
It was, actually there's 2 points, but people probably don't really know. My coach, Lachlan, was yelling out different things, obviously throughout the fight, different directions or whatever. At one point, he basically called out to me, he's gonna break like he did in the Cummins fight. And that's when, Roger yells to him, "No, I'm not." And the irony of him yelling out, "No, I'm not gonna break," when in fact he did just break, answering my coach. That's when I kicked him, and that's when I broke his arm, and I knew I could finish him.
He was actually going back and forth with your coach, "You're going to break." "No, I'm not." And you broke his arm?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
So the ironies of all that. Alanis Morissette irony.
Yeah, that
was his first mistake.
I understand that you guys in Canada get down with Alanis Morissette, but if you re-listen to that song, none of that stuff is ironic. It's just shitty.
No, it pisses me off. We joke about it all the time.
It's not ironic, actually.
No, it's not ironic. Rain on your wedding day, that just sucks. It's not ironic. All right, so let's go ahead, and while we still have a couple minutes with you, and thank you very much for the insight on the Narvaez fight, I'm going to go back and watch and see if I can see the minute where he jinxed himself, where he said, "No, I'm not," and then his arm broke. Now, obviously, huge fight fan, and you tweet out during all of it, and we love to follow your feed. Why don't you give us the three main fights, Cerrone, Weidman, and then DC. Why don't you kind of give us your opinion on those fights? Were you impressed? Did it go the way that you thought? Just kind of talk about the fights a little bit.
Yeah, I think Cerrone did what he had to do. Kudos to John, who I've trained with a lot at TriStar for stepping up, and that's a huge step up in regards to just competition. But Cerrone showed his striking's on a different level, and when he gets in a rhythm, he gets in that Muay Thai rhythm, he's pretty unstoppable. And again, kudos to Medeski for jumping in there and I hope he heals up as quick as possible because that looked like a mean crack. In regards to the Weidman fight, he showed many different parts of why he's champion and the ability to come back and impose his will after someone just did the opposite to him. Obviously, Vitor is an explosive person, and I think he had him hurt and against the cage, even though Weidman says that he was fine. I think there was a moment where he literally could have had the fight. But again, Weidman showed why he's champion and took the opportunity to find an opportunity and win devastatingly. In the DC fight, I honestly am so happy for DC because they gave him an opportunity to redeem himself because of the lackluster performance that he had before. But to be completely honest, I think it might not be necessarily the best thing for the sport in regards to the John Jones thing, because John Jones obviously beat him decisively, and the person that I think was the number one contender was obviously AJ, but it showed the flaws in AJ's game, and either way, I'm so happy for DC.
Absolutely. You always say cardio is king, right?
It's half the battle, the base of the grind, baby.
Okay. We want to thank you very much for your intelligence and all of your calm answers and putting up with some of my BS there at the end. Before we let you off the phone, Elias, we want to invite you back anytime you have something going on. We hope you become a friend of the show. And before we let you go, why don't you tell all of your fans how to connect with you on social media?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. It honestly was a pleasure to chat, gentlemen, and I would love to do it again.
Great.
Everyone can find me on Instagram at Elias UFC. And then to make things difficult, you can find me at Twitter at Elias Theodor.
Okay, fantastic. Well, guys, as Alanis Morissette would say, it's ironic, but we have Sam Alvey coming up in the second segment of this show. So stay tuned.